Well, welcome back to a video as we continue the process, hi Athena, of fixing this quarter panel on the 62 Suburban. You can see where it's got some more damage from being in the salvage yard and a little bit of rust is popping through. Checking out the camera, girl? She's nosy. You can see I didn't quite finish welding that because I'm going to need to cut out that section down here to repair that. And to do so, I didn't want to get that all buttoned up so that I can make some adjustments and things as necessary. There's still a little bit of the internal structure back behind this, which is giving it a good position. I wanted to get this at least tacked along that part so that I can work with the structure still in place and solve my problems down here. So instead of trying to bang that out or making a panel, I'm very fortunate in that I have a whole replacement piece. Well, it's cut off a rusty mud bus that I started with, and it was basically just a parts truck. Unfortunately, as you can see, that little spot down there is going to work just great to patch it. So I'll cut out a bigger section, and first thing I'm going to do is wire wheel that and get all the paint and make sure there's no surprises hiding underneath that, because like I said, this Suburban that I cut this panel off of was so packed full of mud in all these weird little spots. This is also going to donate its top piece in sections to replace the old brazed in repair here when they replaced this whole panel back when the Suburban was probably relatively new. Must have sustained some damage, and then they fixed it. So first things first, to patch that section over there where there's a lot of damage and a little bit of rust, let's get this ready to roll. Okay, I hacked this piece out after I wire wheeled that section of panel I showed you to make sure there wasn't any hidden rust spots. Now, when I cut the panel off the Suburban, I went inside of the, or outside of the rivets, which in this case, I'm actually going to cut inside of the rivets, or outside of the, what you get what I'm saying. This side of the rivets, this side of the rivets, so that I can blend the two together without having this whole panel flex. So I've already started to lay out the idea. The first step will be to actually lay out as much as I need. I cut extra, of course, but I've laid out an extra amount that I'll trim back. As you can see, it doesn't quite line up here on this line to that line because I wanted to give myself a little extra to come back in. But first things first is I need to cut all this extra out now that I've wire wheeled this down and I know that the metal's solid, structurally good. So once I get this piece out, I can then start trimming back to get a little bit closer to where I want to go, and then I can mark the actual panel itself and then cut on the inside of it, and they should match up perfectly when I do that. So let's give it a go. Okay, so a minute ago I said rivets, I meant spot welds. But as you can see, I've trimmed this all back down and cleaned up the edge. And then I marked the inside where I'm going to cut inside of the spot welds so that this structure stays solid. So I'm going to cut those free first, and then I'm going to cut inside of this line. And then I'm going to work my way back to it once this is out of the way so it can actually fit up against it. So basically I'm going to cut inside on my lines and then grind away the rest of the material so I can fit it perfectly. This side I'm not that worried. It can be dead flush and I can weld it up. I still need a little bit of a gap in here, but it's got to be really precise. So I'm going to take my time and cut inside of it and go back to the line, because it might shift once this material's out, suck back up. So Okay, you can see I've got her chopped out, and there's still the inner structure and the lip of the old fender. It's really not too bad. It's pretty rust free. So now I've just got to trim back little by little, starting with the front edge, and get it to line up. Pretty simple. Okay, I got it tacked in place. Took a little finessing, and I still have a little more finessing to do to get it to just sit just right up here in the front. You can see where I lined up all the little character lines, tacked each one, tacked on the inside. All that'll be able to be ground flush, and tacked across the top, and I had to body work it as I went a little bit to get it to sit just right. So now, do some finish welding and some more fine tuning. I'll show you the final product. I'm using an old Miller 210. It's not old, it's only 15 years old, but I'm using 035, I believe, or 030, which is pretty heavy for this, but I put an air hose over my shoulder, and each individual little weld, I cool down and just really take my time and jump around quite a bit and work it as I need to, but it comes out pretty flush if you take your time. I've also been working on this to get that finished up. And I'll fast forward through some welding process and let you see the final product. Many hours of work later, and we've got some finished welds. You can see that ultimately these character lines are what were the most important concern. There's a little bit of warping here and there. It's a little deceiving with the grinding that I did on it, but I am gonna DA it down a little bit and smooth it and body work a couple more things to get it even more even, and then a small skim coat of body filler, and it will have gone from this to this. Much more finished and repaired and halfway presentable. Still, like I said, some more body work to do here and there, but ultimately it's pretty well cleaned up. All the edges are crisp. You know, still some fine tuning. And then moving on to the inside, you can double check, or I will double check the welds. It's pretty much perfectly solid through. I've gone over them a few times, so the inside is good. I'll put the wheel well back in, and then it's going to have some compartments that I'm going to build in here at a later date. But the big problem has been fixed. And I couldn't be happier. Well, we got more that we're going to do on this Suburban, and I will keep videos coming as we progress. You can see the pile of parts behind me, including the hood. That has to get leaded, and there's a lot more to do on this machine. So if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the Excelsior Garage channel. We'll be finishing more things on this as it goes along, and I'll keep trying to make it better. Just doing all the work here in my little shop. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you want to see the other part of this fender, you can click on that link up here. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel, tell your friends. I'm going to do more videos. Thanks.